Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream. After 10 minutes of jiggling with different things, hi, and welcome to the Lessons Learned podcast. We will be talking about, well, there's not a lot of news this week because it's late summer. Uh, won't be the same when October rolls out, but for now, we're here, and we're going to be talking about open world games, which I like a lot, but they do have some problems. And we're going to be talking about what we like in open world games, and more importantly, I have some ideas of how to improve them. So, um, yes, what's interesting? Let me see.
Is your
No, it's my secondary screen that's not registering, but we'll keep talking nonetheless. So, we're gonna do a couple of news segments. Uh, we'll start with some sad news. Another death in gaming community. Um, Former StarCraft 2 pro and commentator, Jeff In Control Robinson dies at the age of 33. That happened late Sunday, and I received the news on Monday. Um, and we don't know uh, how the reason for his passing. All we know is that this is the official Twitter. You know, no longer his, I suppose. Family members, you know, businesses. Uh, his official Twitter account, Jeff Robinson, said the following: with immense grief, we announced Jeff's unexpected passing due to sudden illness Saturday. So he passed away on Saturday. The news came out on Sunday. We ask privacy as his family works to understand what happened and make arrangements. To honor Jeff or offer comfort to his family, we suggest donation to SoCal Bulldog, which he loved. He had, some a charity for bulldogs, and yeah, and a
no?
lot of people who know him, including people we mentioned before here, such as um, Itme JP and sorry. Sorry about that. Just the battery going off for some reason. Idme JP and Alan Coble, expressed their condolences as well. I never saw any of his shows, but I did saw him in the Co-op podcast. I saw him on Idme JP's role playing stuff, role play with the same name, et cetera, et cetera. So our condolences to the family, Robinson family, for their sudden and of course unexpected loss.
Yeah, I mean that's 33. That's really young.
Yeah.
Um, and he seems to have had a thing for bulldogs, which is cute.
Uh, from Kotaku, we have something in a lighter vein, I suppose. PewDiePie. Well, I always say PewDiePie, but it's PewDiePie.
Yeah,
Calls for an end to the subscribe to PewDiePie meme. He's basically called out the end to the slogan, citing events like Christchurch shooting, where a shooter yelled the slogan before opening fire on Muslims worshipping in New Zealand. I think he's been quoted here. I think it's time to end the subscribe to PewDiePie movement or meme. PewDiePie says in the video, he goes to say that following the Christchurch shooting, he came to believe it's clear to me that the subscribe to PewDiePie movement should have ended then.
mm,
Okay.
yeah,
Uh, the the meme started when essentially he was taken down as a sort of top YouTube personality. A YouTube channel called T Series began to overtake his channel, and basically it was sort of this at first sort of friendly competition, like, oh, please support PewDiePie just because we don't want these channels taking over YouTube and all that.
hmm
But there has been, and this is something people should observe themselves. He is at runnings with and associations with, and some jokes he made with, I consider to be right leaning, and there seems to be a problem with members of his audience. And when you have a large enough audience, to be honest, you can't control
yeah,
everybody, right? So let's be clear about that. which right wing and extremist views, and being criticized for that as well. But his first name is Felix. He expressed say that, you know what, let's let's end this. And although it may seem a bit too late for a lot of people, I think is it's better than you know than nothing. So I applaud him for that.
Yeah. I don't know. So it was a meme that like a call to action was a meme like subscribe to PewDiePie.
Yeah,
Was
okay,
that
there.
after the shooting, right? Or was that
It
before?
was before, and it took hold of the audience and other YouTube personalities which are friends of his, or share the same space. Like, oh, everybody should subscribe to PewDiePie. We want to drive the numbers up, right? And along the way, it sort of, I guess, morphed into this idea of this cultural icon, like a memes usually do, popular memes do, and certain people in right wing community, political communities, apparently identify with him, and the Christchurch shooter apparently uttered those words as a
Yeah.
battle cry, I suppose,
Yeah,
before he
it
opened
was the
fire.
last thing he said to the
Yeah,
camera before he like shut off and went on a shooting rampage from my understanding. And
yeah. So,
well, I don't know. I wonder how long before like, hit the like subscribe button and the
yeah.
notification thing becomes like a meme because wow, like a lot of YouTube channels have desperately tried to do,
Hmm?
I guess, just kind of stay ahead of the curve and just keep like uttering those words, which honestly I find really annoying and kind of sad. It's like, well, yeah, I think everyone by now knows that. So,
No,
but
no, this is.
I'm not much for call to actions.
Yep. These are all. I thought these were new news, but they're not. So, um, this one is a piece of news in the kind of way. Um, 74% of, this is from according to Kotaku.com, 74% of adults have been harassed while gaming online, study says. Written by Cecilia D'Anastasio for Kotaku. Um, the report published Thursday by a century-old civil rights nonprofit organization, Anti-Defamation League, offers some staggering statistic on the prevalence of trolling, threats, discrimination, and just plain rude name-calling in online gaming. Alongside a survey of over 1,000 people who play games, the ADL also looked at game publishers' moderation of those spaces and found them wanting. Now, sample size, you want to criticize the thing, its sample size seems a bit small, 1,000, to say categorically expanded 74% of adults.
Yeah.
But usually these surveys don't have like millions of people, right? They don't talk to everybody. According to Daniel Keith, Associate Director at the Yale Center of Technology and Society, large-scale commercial games have these aspects of their platform that are totally unmoderated spaces. We know from places like 4chan, 8chan that unmoderated spaces become toxic. How toxic? Some of the numbers came from a study conducted in April this year are mind-boggling. 65% of players surveyed experienced severe harassment, which includes physical threats, stalking, sustained harassment. Wow. I mean,
That's
stalking is the one that really rings a bell. I mean, the other ones are not.
Yeah, well, and especially like something like doxing. I guess that could fall into the same category as stalking.
Yeah. While gaming online, 29% said they at some point have been doxxed as a result of a game, which the study finds a stranger publishing private information about them. Which, more than stalking, I believe that falls into basically the direct physical threat. So that's the link to the article. About a third of LGBTQ players believe that they have been harassed because of their sexual orientation. A third of Black or African American people surveyed, as well as a quarter of Latinx and Asian American people, say they were harassed because of their ethnicity. Women were the most harassed demographic, probably because women voices can be divided in games voice chats, with nearly 40% having reported harassments based on gender. And it continues. It mentions the top games that the ADL found foster harassment were Dota 2, Counter Strike Global Offensive, Overwatch, PUBG, Players Unknown Battleground, and League of Legends. Dota was the top game player said they had stopped playing because they didn't want to deal with other rude antics. Well, that's something that would probably hit the bottom line. It's like, well, this place is just too much. We're out of here, right?
Yep.
Um,
Honestly, like it's sad, but it's unsurprising if you've been around if you played any kind of multiplayer games. It's
mhm.
honestly, it's sad to say it's par for course. I've seen that before. Not so much targeted as me because I've never really played very much or spoke very much on multiplayer games if I ever did. But it's even then you get regardless of of that, you do sometimes just get called random slurs and stuff. But
Hmm.
so it's unsurprising, but yeah, definitely, I can definitely see people that are more open about themselves while they're talking, getting harassed about that, and especially women, since unless you're like even then, another one is age too.
Mhm.
You definitely get like a lot of older people harassing each other over their age if they sound like they're young as well.
Yeah. Or vice versa.
Hmm.
In happier news, according to PC Gaming, PC Gamer, a new Yakuza game will be unveiled next month.
Hmm.
Although the byline is for PC gamers, though its history of an indication, it will be a long wait for the PC port. By the way, Yakuza 2 dropped recently on Steam, the PC port. So I guess I have another game. I have 3 games to play because I haven't played Yakuza 0 and I haven't played Yakuza 2. So I'll have to sort of keep playing them as they come out for PC.
Oh, I
Uh,
definitely recommended it. They're both fun. They
yeah.
can be kind of grindy. There's a lot to do and stuff in them, but and you might need to take like frequent breaks from it, but
Hmm.
they're fun. They're very entertaining.
Uh, According to the first paragraph, whenever this is getting you down, it's helpful to remember that Yakuza games exist. Thank you, PC Gamer. The past few years have been seeing PC ports of the first 2 Kiwami games and Zero. While the 2 most recent mainline games, Yakuza 6 still has to make the jump. Sega now considers the series a multi-platform one. Yeah, well, they're over Yakuza 6 already. The good thing
Mhm.
about the PC releases is that they're upgraded, right? Their graphics and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's worth getting excited for a new Yakuza game. Will be unveiling next month, and will be the first since Kazuma Kiryu story concluded. So we're moving to a new character. I didn't know that they're doing that, but I guess they couldn't just keep going with the same guy forever. There's no much
Yeah.
in regarding who will start in the next generation of series, but the below teaser posted by Ryu Gatuku Studio Twitter's account, Gotoku, suggests Yakuza Online protagonist Ishiba Kazuga will at least appear in the game. This is a Yakuza Online game. I didn't know about. Uh, the tweet press conference on August 29th, so we're talking about next week. It's exciting crossroads this year. There's 7 main games and a recent solve them up spin-off Judgment. We will talk about that and problems that actors have had with the series in the past. Um, the setting of Kiryu sees the Yakuza series at a crossroads will still be set predominantly in Kamurocho. Will Karaoke return after his devastating absence in Judgment? Only time will tell. So for those who are, especially like Chapman, who own a Sony PlayStation, and maybe later on I think they're also on Xbox. I think. Actually, no, they're just Sony and PC ports.
Yeah. They haven't made the jump
The Xbox.
to Xbox yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will.
This is interesting. So yeah, they will. You can expect more, mostly Sony, another Yakuza 7, I suppose. Um,
Yeah, I wonder if it's gonna. I haven't like played all of them. I've only played 0 and 1. And I know that the sixth game is supposed to be sort of like the last one with Kirio.
and in some sad news, for fans of indie games, especially indie darlings, Hand of Fate 2 Studio Defiant is ceasing development. Studio has not been able to change quickly enough to adapt to changing game market, according to the statement released by This is from Brisbane-based studio responsible for Hand of Fate. According to statement, Studio Facebook will continue in caretaker mode in order to continue support for its existing titles. I'm betting somebody's gonna say, "Well, because it didn't have microtransactions, that's why they couldn't." Like, chillax. Just don't go there. Founded in 2010, the studio is best known for its Hand of Fate series with blended deck building and live action third-person combat. I have Hand of Fate 2. I have to play it soon, I guess. The 2017 sequel was especially well received. Our reviewer describing a satisfying sequel to a meteor dungeon crawler than its predecessor. The studio also makes note that the development team will be looking for new jobs. Yeah.
Satisfying.
Will
The game that really reflects skills, huh?
So I hope that they don't get snatched up by Disney, because there's a rumor out there that Disney is wants to buy Activision.
Really? That would be interesting. Now, think about it. Disney having their own like video game development company and basically buying a AAA studio that to kind of compete with EA. Oof. Honestly, that kind of sounds bad.
Yeah. In other news, another studio, Techland is still working on the first Dying Light. Small team is cooking something up. Last year, after 3 years after launch, Dying Light received 10 pieces of DLC across the space of 12 months. Wow, that's a lot of DLC. This game has been persistent while Techland is focused on Dying Light 2, due out in 2020. Probably for new hardware that's coming out. The original game has not been forgotten. The zombie parkour game has only become more popular as its age, with great numbers of people purchasing it last year. Techland Timon Mextala. I apologize if I completely, because that's what I did, completely mangle the last name to Timon. The word of mouth has been a big factor in this, as well as all the DLC, free or otherwise. That's a very interesting thing. It's like, this is not a game that is a game of service, but they kept supporting with more DLC stuff, and, well, people say, "Oh, this is a great game." They jumped in, right? It's sort of the opposite of a bad game that starts bad and then gets better, and then that's when people jump in because, the patching stuff, patching stuff. Although I think there were a couple of complaints about the original Dying Line, but it was popular enough a couple of years back, and it seems to be still popular, so that is something I think I actually approve of, right? Again, we said it many times in the show. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely like actually pretty good that a game company would be willing to keep up updating and trying to keep the game fresh years after, especially like free as well. Like we've seen developers do that too. Now, like I think the one that I think to mind is like Shovel Knight. Like I think Shovel Knight's been adding stuff to their game for like years, or Stardew Valley. That's another one as well.
Yep. Although technically, I don't feel very comfortable with the idea of being free, because not really free, right? It's you have to pay for the original game, but it's not pay extra, which I think it's a more accurate definition overall. So yeah, talking about another indie game that is being updated with DLC. This War of Mine invites you, the player, resolve existential questions in new DLC. A new story scenario and some ethical conundrums. For those who don't know, This War of Mine is essentially a survival game set in a war-torn country in the 1990s, and it's kind of like Yugoslavia style situation, and you have to survive and go out in the middle of the fighting and essentially borrow, beg, and steal from others, and people come into your home and you create a community, but people that come in could be risky because they could get sick and whatever, so it has a lot of tension to it. One of the few games that I think that uses extremely well story elements to give you a gut punch, right? It's from 11-bit Studios, and this is the game. I don't know when the game actually doesn't say when the game actually released. It also has some criticism because it's gamified.
2014,
Yeah, so we're 4 years ago. No, uh, yeah,
almost 5 years
almost
ago.
5 years ago. Yeah, so 4 years ago. Um, because it gamified essentially very dark themes, right? And it had been made. People complained that it was making light of them. But I think it is one of those games. It's like, well, if we're gonna talk about war, let's talk about war, right? Let's have a stab at it.
Yeah, because war is ugly.
Yeah,
It isn't. It isn't fun, wacky like Fallout.
yeah. As much as
Fallout 3 shenanigans. It's pretty ugly.
uh, according to lead artist Thomas Kisilowick, the latest This Water Mine story, and again, probably that's Mango, that last name, I apologize. So our mind focus on choices that can lead to multiple endings. These branches were necessary to help address the overarching question of what had the bigger value, things made by men that outlives life or the life of a man itself. When you think about it, humans stand against destructive power of war not only to save themselves, but to save what entire generations have created. Even if it fails to deliver a sort of an emotional something, the fact that they're trying, I think it's yeah, something I really want to see. So it's and there's a piece of news here that a couple of years ago that this World of Mine has sold over 4.5 million copies and raised over $500,000 for charity. So it's not all, you know,
It's not all being pocketed.
yeah. So that's good for them. This is a more wacky Japanese fun kind of situation, at least from the designer point of view. Bloodstained designers had to defeat the bosses they made without taking a hit and with just a dagger. So again, according to PC Gamer, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night has a fair share of tricky boss battles, but as Malindi notes in Bloodstained Review, they're all satisfying scraps where you win by studying the boss. Typical for, this type of game. And I'm playing Dark Souls 3 right now, so yes, I know the feeling. Shout out to Misty for helping me out in a couple of battles. According to the boss and Castlevania vet Koji Igarashi, the team took extra steps to keep the fights fair. Whenever someone designed a boss, they had to prove that there was a way to defeat it, no matter the weapon or difficulty, without being damaged. It's a bit like not being able to upload a Mario Maker level unless you can finish it yourself, which is, I think, pretty fair.
Yeah.
Developer who creates a boss must beat their own boss without taking a hit and only using a dagger. Igarashi told Gama Sutra. We almost didn't make it. Okay. I mean, it seems very much sort of seat of your pants, hands-on approach to difficulty design. Not have someone else just test it. You build this boss. You're supposed to know all the things about it. Let's see how you can figure it out. You play it, and then game testing also includes people actually playing their own games. The designers. That's not unique to them.
Yeah.
But Q&A is supposed to simply hammer out especially the more pernicious problems. So, and also I'm sure because this is a small team, as it was crowdfunded, yeah, and it's a Metroidvania type game. I guess they're doing most of the Q&A themselves, which is what happens when you have a small team. You cannot hire out or have Q&A, or in this case, shouldn't, because the game seems very much fun, and well, we'll talk about that.
And it's also interesting because it's almost like an acknowledgement of like these challenges that people make for the games, like post like unintended challenges for the game, such as like running around trying to beat the game without ever getting hit and stuff, making sure that these weird challenges that are rules just to kind of add like an extra layer of challenge that that they exist. It's kind of entertaining that they're taking that sort of into account. Probably not quite that extreme, but hey, look, I can totally beat this boss with like probably the most basic starting weapon and without taking damage.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that's actually possible.
And also, I think it's, in a way, it also, again, most by the seat depends, different challenge ratings, right? Because different weapons can do different things, different abilities, and so by going the most difficult route, it is possible to beat them, right?
Hmm.
It's not impossible. So you have to do it in certain ways. If a player wasn't aware that this one weapon is what you need to beat this boss, and you can't beat it. If you don't, et cetera, et cetera. And so you were doing something else, like trying to get, because you can get like costumes for the character and all that. You were focused on Fashionvania as opposed to Metroidvania, then you can still beat the boss, right? And I think that answers a lot of questions about difficulty and scaling. Very sort of hands-on approach to it. Now, for our final piece of news, and this is very interesting. It goes to microtransactions, open world games, which we're going to talk about open world games in a moment. Gambling laws appear to block GTA Online update in over 50 countries. And the update is for the new Diamond Casino update. Casino, in other words, an in-game casino. By the way, people who know, you can already bet in like races and stuff like that. With virtual currency, but the thing is that virtual currency can be bought with real money. The update went live yesterday. This is updated July 25th, so today. But some players don't receive in-game notifications that they didn't have permission to buy gambling chips to use in the virtual casinos. The new Diamond Casino runs on in-game cash, which can be purchased with real money. It seems that developer Rockstar Game feels that the transaction mirrors online gambling too closely to ignore, legally speaking. Because if it actually was close to online gambling, and they were worried about gambling addiction, for example, they wouldn't have a casino in the game. But there you go. IGN has reached out for Rockstar to comment. After content support, they received a quick reply that because of my region, I cannot enjoy the gambling-related content with new DLC. They also noted I tried buying the High Roller Penthouse, but it's also locked for no apparent reason. The list includes 54 countries: China, North Korea, Iceland, Cyprus, and Poland. In these comments, some other international players now saying they're using VPNs, however they could land them in trouble with Rockstar or other country's legal system. Wow.
It's interesting because you don't I don't think you could cash out with that, right? It's not like you can buy the currency to play like these digital gambling games and then it's over. Then like you win more money, then you could turn around and cash it out. So it's interesting that some countries would actually no, you don't have to be able to just cash out your money.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the UK Gambling Commission, who observed and was studying this, and where we got the lovely phrase "surprise mechanics" from EA representatives / lawyers, did not, once again, ban loot boxes or microtransactions in video games because it didn't, according to them, didn't amount to the legal definition of gambling within the United Kingdom. So they did not do that. However, they did note, among other things, that yes, these things can be problematic, and that in some cases people can actually cash out prices for real life items or other items that they can use in real life. So they're still out there, and the evidence. Another commission could take it on. This legislation could be passed through a Boris Johnson-led parliament. I have no idea how that's gonna work. God help the UK. But that's just personal take. Never mind that. But yeah, that's something that is happening right now. So it's tied to this in a very interesting way, because in many ways, this game is made by Rockstar North, which are in Scotland.
Well, it's almost interesting because it's like, it's almost like they're setting themselves up for, we can't do anything right now with the current laws that we have. So maybe we just need to change the laws to include this because we do think this stuff is problematic if they're still looking at it. Because it'd be one thing when they're like, well, nope, doesn't fit our definitions. Oh, well, that doesn't seem like they're doing that. It's like, well, right now, as the law stands, we can't really do anything about it, but there's still a lot of concern. So hopefully their representatives and stuff will push for changes in their legislation.
Yeah. So that's where we stand, and that was the last piece of news this week.
Actually, I have one more
Go ahead.
piece of news. It's a follow up to a story we covered last week. This comes from Ars Technica. Where is it? I got all these windows open. Ars Technica reports that Nintendo's quietly owning up to the Joy-Con drift that we discussed last week.
Mm-hmm.
And will repair for free. So apparently now that there's a mounting public pressure, there's Nintendo is like saying, okay, we'll fix your Joy-Cons for free, because people are bringing it up and stuff. I don't think they're quite taking in like ownership for like any kind of maybe poor craftsmanship or anything like that. But it's interesting that they're like, okay, we'll fix it for free, because as I mentioned last week, my husband has been having this issue with his Joy-Cons, that they have this drift to them. I want to say that probably started like a couple weeks ago. He got this. How long has the Switch been now? Because he got this when it was when it went live, or when it launched. So what, 2.5 years?
Yeah,
I think 2 years now.
Yeah.
So 2 years, and the controller is like already not holding up. And there's like controllers from the 90s that are still working just fine.
Yeah.
So apparently, if you're having this issue, hit up Nintendo and they'll fix your Joy-Cons for free, which my husband did already. Interesting thing, because he has tried to get them fixed before. He actually his Joy-Cons actually had another known problem at launch, which is that I think the left Joy-Con desyncs every once in a while, or has issues pairing up. His Joy-Con sometimes has had that issue, and they wouldn't fix it for like without charging you, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I saw a piece of news. I don't recall it right now, where people were actually probably trying to do a class action lawsuit against Nintendo.
Yeah, something
so
like that.
I guess that's like, well, we can head this off by doing not quite as openly as Microsoft did back in the day of the 360. People who don't know, there's something called the Red Ring of Death. What happened to the Xbox 360 when it came out? Basically, got rushed into market, literally. And there were the white Xboxes, I think, the first ones that came out, and they would overheat. And there was a piece of metal that would overheat and melt, and essentially would just make the whole machine just unplayable. So what Microsoft did was something very similar. They would take in the Xboxes and say, we're going to give you a new one. We'll repair, we'll give you a new one. And eventually what they did for, I think not even shipping and handling, because most of those you can go to like GameStop and stuff like that. And you had the proper paperwork. What they happened, of course, is that they refurbished them and they resold them, and they would sell them like $50 to $100 less. So one of the reasons why the Xbox sold so well, essentially, is that for a price, they resold basically the first run of their entire run of Xboxes. So they recouped the losses, and of course, it was a lead loss anyway, but they were enough out there that it justified the investment. So Nintendo is saying, you know what, we're gonna do it in the down low. It's like, well, if you turn them in, we'll give it to you for free. We're not going to announce that we're doing that, because we're not going to admit that there's a problem. But if you happen to have a problem and you happen to contact us, then serendipity, right? So talk about GTA Online and other games. We're going to move into the open world game. We talked about open world games before, starting with what constitutes an open world. For this discussion is anywhere where it has at least one or more large free roaming overland maps. So there's ships, you can run a horse, at foot, on a vehicle, etc. and then most of the action happens in that overland map because open world literally is about, mechanically speaking, about the map. So Minecraft, Dragon Inquisition, Andromeda, Far Cry series, remember the Far Cry 5 game,
Uh,
etc., etc. It could be one contiguous maps or a map, just one big one, with dynamic loading, like say The Witcher, for example, or it could be one that has zones in it, like Inquisition, large zones, but individual zones, some bigger, some smaller, some huge and empty, like the Western Desert, some colorful, like what was it,
the
the
hinterlands.
hinterlands, yeah, etc., etc. So I love some of the best games I played, like Fallout 3. You mentioned Fallout 3, are open world games, and Skyrim. I love them, but they do have a problem, and I think fundamentally the problem is in balancing elements. People would say, "Oh, it's they have a lot of busy work," and that's true, but I think that is part of a much larger problem because the best open worlds either have a very strong sense of this is what we're really doing and everything else is secondary, and either you like it or you don't. Like Minecraft is all about crafting and exploring and surviving monsters. It doesn't have a story, it doesn't have anything. That's what you do, and in many ways creating your own fun along the way with all the stuff. Like nowadays there's galactic craft, you can go to other planets, stuff like that, right? Others are more guided. They have a story. They have more focus. In which I don't know, GTA 5's campaign. It happens to be in an open world, but really it's very linear stuff because you go from mission to mission to mission, and there's not a lot of stuff to do in between. Ironically enough, except maybe drive around and pick up a couple of things. Um, so it's in an open world, but it has very linear story. Um, and I played it. I enjoyed it while I was playing it, but and then you have some stuff in between, like the Far Cry series, Andromeda, and some others, which is just well, take your pick on what happens. So the first thing I want to say is, for an open world game, is why. The question is why you're making this a game of open world game, right? And what do you plan to do with the open world game, with the open world, right? What's the purpose? Because I think that's one of the first problems open world games have. You have an open world because reasons, mostly, especially in games as service. Open world fits a lot of people in it, and they can play and whatnot. You can put a lot of stuff and just have people waste a lot of time. But having a design reason other than, hey, we can load this up with a lot of microtransactions in order to justify being an open world, right? In games that have a very strong sense of what they want the open world to be and what they want to do in it, they tend to be the best. Those that don't.
Yeah, I think The Witcher 3 is probably one that's held on as a good example as to how all the side quests and busy work actually kind of lends itself to the main story in some way versus say, oh my god, I'm thinking of like a Inquisition. I played that one on stream and I counted how many. I think there are 4 or 5 quests that are essentially is amount to, oh no, I lost a ring. Could you go get it for me? Like my so and so partner died over there, or someone stole it, or it just ended up over there. Can you go get my ring? Oh yay, you got my ring. Thanks. Like that's literally all the quests. And it's in almost every zone. There's a quest that's exactly that same formula. Somebody wants a ring back and you need to go get it.
Yeah, I think that's the second point is filler should build up to something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Inquisition, besides just getting XP and getting stronger, which is I think what that's one another problem with open world games is has filler for filler's sake. I think when the podcast back and we say about what is content, one of the things that we talked about was that just having filler, I mean it is content, but it doesn't amount to anything. It's just there. Busy work. And some people enjoy it. I kind of enjoy it a little bit, depending on the situation, picking up flowers and stuff like that. But not always. An entire game based on that is just,
Yeah.
you know.
There is some like there's some catharticism to like doing something small and mundane
Hmm.
and repetitive, and especially if it's done right. But a lot of times it's not. Like you're supposed to be in some like sort of, mostly because I think it's the positions that you're put into. It's like, oh, you're supposed to be the head of an inquisition. Well, but you as like the leader of this giant organization that needs to save the world has to do like the mundane small busy work, versus say if something like Stardew Valley, where oh, you're just a simple farmer and you're trying to raise your crops and stuff, and
Hmm.
you just go through the motions because that's the point of the game. Or something like Animal Crossing, just something small like that, where you're not, it's almost like like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, some developers, in
Hmm.
terms of that they want you to be this grand, have this power fantasy, but they can't come up with like, I guess, satisfying busy work for someone in that position, because you wouldn't have that busy
Hmm.
work. You have bigger things to do. You can't just go out there and do all the small stuff, because then you would have like absolutely no time for any of the things that matter in your position.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I want to retouch that in a moment, but I think one other thing also say is like skyboxes.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people will say open world. Oh, we're gonna have these grand vistas and beautiful skyboxes, but the question is, and I mean, they're great the first time you see them. I love, for example, standing in the edge of the headquarters of the Blades in Skyrim, and you can see like the mountains and stuff. It's beautiful, right? And when I remember seeing it beautiful when I played it on the 360 back in the day, so it was like, wow, this is very impressive. But then, and then, right? What does it add to it? Because the open world itself has to have a strong theme and idea, and if it doesn't, it's just their collection of pretty skyboxes. Is like, I think that's one reason I sort of like I didn't sort of wasn't wowed by Andromeda, because yes, the environments are impressive, right? These grand deserts and mountains, and you can see a mountain over there, whatever. But it's like it didn't add to it much more than maybe, oh, this place is poisonous and that place is very hot and whatever, and I have to do this thing where I had to fix that. And after 5 minutes I
Yeah.
didn't care, right? I saw it, took a picture, and I moved on, right?
Yeah, and something with like that's based on space and science, like you would think it would have like a day-night cycle, like say something in, let's take the first desert world. Say it's like very hot and irradiated during the day, but it's like at night, it's all of a sudden you have the opposite problem. It's super cold. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
I mean, and that would be something, because especially if you're in space, like you can see the planet rotating and stuff on the maps, like, and then yet there's no like day night cycle. It's just the land just exists.
Yeah, a variation of that is generic versus, and talking about theme, is generic versus living. Especially goes to open world games and that have like city based sandboxes. I mean, I don't from GTA 4 onward, the GTA games have been like, I prefer the older ones, although they do have problems. But I would say this for Rockstar: when they build this city, and partly because they build it based on real cities, it feels like a real city. Versus when I'm playing, say, Saints Row, especially 3 and 4, they're fun because they're fun things to do, but they feel very generic.
Hmm.
Just look over there, that's a pharmacy, and over there it's an abandoned building, and that's the airport because the city has to have an airport, right? You gotta go to the airport, right? It's
The abandoned warehouse
yeah,
district.
the warehouse history, the park, this and that. It's just like it's the difference. I mean, when you go to a real city, the architecture and the places after a while is like, yes, this has a particular meaning connected to this other place. The geography, you create a mental map of the geography. Like when you go to New York City, Central Park, right? It clashes with the rest of the city, but it also gives it a sense of identity, and the combination of the different, for example, different boroughs of New York City at large, but also different sectors of Manhattan, like Midtown, Upper West Side, Little Italy, Little China, Little Russia, right? stuff like that. It's not called Road Rush; it's called something else. I apologize. But I think Little Odessa, I think that's called. And because I haven't been there in years, that's why I forgot. And when you're there, you're like, oh, this has like the music and the people and the people dress, etc. Where you go to Saints Row, and again, I love the Saints Row game, but you walk around and it's just like
It's all the same.
It's all the same, right? It
You're-
feels the difference between feeling like you're in a real city and feeling like you're in a movie backlot version of that city, right? Where it's like, oh, extras and cameras roll and people start walking and talking, and then oh, we're done, and it's like, oh, you can just push in this and this will fall down because it's just a marquee, right? It doesn't. There's no depth there. I think that's one of the things about The Witcher is the level of detail they had to recreate sort of a 12th to 14th century Eastern medieval style Polish, Czechoslovakian, Eastern European landscape. Like I could imagine riding from a town in The Witcher into the central Polish, farmlands, and it would feel just the same, say for real people. Because the look, and that's another thing I always said this before. Said it in role playing games, taking ideas from the real world and using them gives them a lot of flavor, right? It's not just a guy in any uniform has a particular stuff like that. So because it's the game, you're going to spend so much time in the open world. The open world has to have been more than just pretty boxes, open boxes, and just just places to just stand there and be there, right?
Yeah.
And going to the point of the story, because we're going back to the whole storytelling thing that I keep harping on, and everybody was like, "Oh God, not again." I think one of the problems that open world games have is that they try to be a game for everybody, right? Because it's open world, we can put everybody, and we can have microtransactions, and so they want to be story driven games in one section, with a sense of linearity that story to demands, like, and the demands of the story is like, hey, listen, you're a very powerful person. You're supposed to do this, take on castles and build things and take them down and defeat the villain. But we have to have busy work because, this game's supposed to be like 40, 50, 60 hours. So pick a flower or 3 or 5 or get, there's conflicts
Go
between,
mine for resources. Go to the mines and go catch Black Lung.
or in the case of GTA 4 and 5, they have this supposedly great story, which means that while the city is thematic, there's really nothing really to do in the city other than walk around, run around. All the real cool activities are in the online version for obvious reasons. But it's like, oh, okay. And I think that's the thing is how do you use story, right? If you want to make a story driven game, maybe don't even make it an open world, because the thing about the open world is the sandbox aspect of it, which I like, is it's that you can go and just do whatever. You can go off the beaten path and do other things and find cool things and discover your own little games and interact with wacky NPCs in a corner somewhere. It's like, and do this activity, stuff like that. If the story is not made to accommodate that, then it feels like you're playing two games. Like Fallout, that's the problem with Fallout 4. Fallout 4 has all the build
build all the
settlements and stuff like that, and help people out. And then it's like, Sean, my son, Sean, I have to save him, Sean, and that just takes you somewhere else where you're like you're running around and you're literally running in a very narrow area, right? I understand, because in Fallout 3 there was the whole thing with your dad, but I think the story was used much better because you didn't expect to just find your dad immediately. Your dad had gone into Wilderness. You have to actually go out and explore. Here's like, no, I'm just, there's another clue on my boy Sean. I'm about to get him, and but next, it feels like you're always on the run. And it's like this great Commonwealth they built is just there. But if you really want to enjoy the Commonwealth, you're like, well, Sean can F themselves.
Yeah. I'm not worried about my newborn, like my under 1-year-old son.
Yeah. 200 years into the future after my spouse significant other was murdered in front of me and whatever. So yeah, Let's go kill some mutants because that's
Let
fun.
me go build up a settlement with like just go collect scraps so I can go build power generators and get people to start farming food for me and stuff and build fresh water.
I mean, if that had been the focus of the story, if they made the story around that,
Yes.
that would have made sense because it encourages you to go to these other settlements, explore, discover new technology, right? Especially with some of the DLCs like the Robotron stuff, build robots and build fortifications and have fights with mutants and raiders and maybe even clear territory and take over territory. But the story is about Sean, and you're like, but Sean is across the map over there, and I'm here still in the original settlement trying to build up turrets and some other
Yeah,
stuff.
it's like,
Like,
oh yeah, what was I supposed to be doing again?
yeah, so it's weird that way. And
That or if it would like lock you out of the main draw of the game up to a certain point where you can be like, oh, he'll be fine.
yeah, and some people don't like that the idea that you have to ignore the main story, um, but you got to build a story for the game. That's always what I said. So I think that's my final point. Do you have anything to add?
No, that's pretty much like it's like you gotta try to make an open world where it fits and all the parts of it kind of make sense to the overall like purpose of the character, the drive of the character of the player, and just trying to keep the player engaged. It's a hard balancing act that I don't think very many game developers kind of master.
Or don't seem to understand that you just simply can't just dump any type of game into an open world.
Yeah,
Like, oh, an RPG. Now it's an open world RPG. It's like, but why? It's a shooter. It's now an open world shooter. It's like, but why? It's just having a bigger map doesn't necessarily do anything for you. So yeah, that's our take on open world games. So we said more about what we don't like than what we would like to see. Mostly because I think most open worlds have on one level they have all the elements we would like to see, right? So there's
mm-hmm.
no missing elements. It's just how they're used that really, except for the old kind of art that would like to see more co-op play, particularly in open worlds, because exploring with your friends' worlds, I think it would be incredibly fun. Saint hat tip to Saint Row for doing that because they do that very well. So that's it for us. Chapelmon, where can we find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at Chapelmon pretty much everywhere on online. I am Chapelmon_Aragon on Twitch and Twitter, but I primarily hang out on YouTube over just search for Chapelmon.
And you can find me here on Lesson Learn channel. I'm playing more or less. I'm playing Dark Souls. I've been, my schedule has been very hectic this week. There's certain things that have been happening around myself and with myself. But hopefully, I will be picking up the game tonight and then tomorrow morning with more Dark Souls, killing a lot of skeletons. And you can find rebroadcasts of this show, the VODs, on Twitch and on YouTube under Lessons Learned. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you when we see you. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.